Those words, the ones from General Patton, were written on the day of the D-Day landing, an event that led to the liberation of Europe from the clutches of a twisted regime, and were written so eloquently. The latter, my own words, were what I said to an opponent just before round 1 of Southern Assault 2, after he had complimented the composition of my list. Just like the Allies had rolled through Europe with a plan, not the most optimal one, but an effective one, I somehow won 6 rounds of Alpha Strike and took overall tournament winner, with the highest score and best general. Today we're going to look not at that list though, but at what I am bringing to Southern Assault this year, to Southern Assault 4. And much like how the even-numbered Star Trek movies are the best ones, I am hoping that this is how my luck runs for tournaments. So starting off, I am a bit full of myself. Well, yeah. I have 2 events where I have taken home the top spot for Alpha Strike, and considering that I have played in a total of 4 events so far, I would say that a 50% win rate is pretty good. The first of these is something that a lot of you probably don't know, but live with the repercussions of in competitive Alpha Strike, and that is the TNT Alpha Strike tournament in Nashville, Tennessee in 2018. That event had a few rules. The ones to remember though is that it wasn't faction or era locked, and it was up to 600 points, with no limit on skill levels. Word of this event, and the fact that my cheese-filled list rolled through each round, eventually made its way to the people who would create the WolfNet rule set in an attempt to try to standardize competitive Alpha Strike. I'm sorry. To be fair though, I think the General would have played it the same way. I mean, he did say Americans play to win at all times. I wouldn't give a hoot in hell for a man who lost and laughed. While his words value winning over all else, I'm not an advocate of win at all costs, and I do believe in good competition. The second of these was Southern Assault 2, arguably one of, if not the largest Alpha Strike tournament in the world, where I somehow did it again, and this time with a much more reasonable rule set. Now, with all of that out of the way, let's take a look at what I'm bringing to Southern Assault 4. Okay, so last year I tried to run something that could be described as formulaic, building off the list that I didn't test, but somehow won with. I bring this up and the non-testing of the list for good reason. I went through so many iterations of what I was going to bring. I tried variation after variation, and I was essentially trying to recapture that lightning in a bottle that 2022 had been. Much like trying to copy takeout food at home, what I ended up with fit the formula. It looked okay, but also it didn't work like I had planned. I essentially had come up with what could reasonably be described as the 2022 list that we had at home. So this year, instead of 6 mechs, 4 infantry, and transport assets, the formula that gave me my first Southern Assault win, I threw out the bathwater, the baby, and even the tub, and started fresh. I was going to go with a theme force this year. I decided to go with Fox Patrol. I had to fight the urge to grab the right number of vehicles and infantry to make the magic formula again, and this time decided to go with something a little different. All mechs. Of course, since I couldn't just pick the mechs that match up to Fox Patrol and crank their skills down low enough to hit 375, I needed to add some mechs. At first, I was picking a bunch of optimized designs, and then I settled on 2. That's right, I am running a list with a total of 7 minis. It is small, manageable, and in my opinion, absolutely terrifying. I'm going to start by covering the 5 mechs of Fox Patrol, and what they will be bringing. And then we are going to look at the 2 mechs that they have accompanying them from Unicorn Company. Let me introduce you to Task Force Foxycorn. First, we have the commander of Fox Patrol, Captain Katie Ferraro. I might stick to something lore accurate and have her designated as my force commander in any scenario that requires it. I have Katie in a Kit Fox B, which, based on the books, seems to be the variant she uses. So let's take a quick look at the mech. The Kit Fox B is a battle mech size 1, TMM of 2 with a movement of 12. It's a striker and she is skill 3. For damage, the little mech does 4 at short and medium range and 2 at long with no overheat. The Kit Fox B has 3 armor and 2 structure, with Case and Omni as its special abilities. The mech comes out to 36 points with Katie at the helm. Now, before we get into the other members, Katie is, from what I can tell, the closest to accurate to what the book describes her as having. The other mechs in Fox Patrol match the base chassis and are available in the Ill-Clan Mercenary Force picks. I did take some liberties with the variants, obviously, for the sake of playability in a competitive environment. The next pilot we have is Evan Huxley. Evan pilots a Locust, and for the event I chose to put him in the fastest of all the Locusts, the LCT-6M. This gives me a unit that goes so fast it would make a Dasher blush, and unlike the Dasher, it has 3 total health, so it can tank an Arrow 4 hit. Let's take a look at the card. Evan's 6M Locust is a battle mech, size 1, TMM of 5, yes, you heard that right, movement of 36 inches, and is a striker at skill 3. It has a damage value of 2 at short and medium range without a long or overheat ability. It has 2 armor and 1 structure, with its only special being energy, and it comes in at 37 points. Of course, Evan can't be there without Arky Colorado and his quick draw. For Arky, I have chosen the QKD-9G, which is a brilliant high-speed assassin version of the mech. Arky's quick draw is a battle mech, size 3, TMM 3, with a movement of 16 ground and 10 jump. It is also a skirmisher. Once again, it's skill 3. The 9G does 4 damage at short and medium ranges with no long and no overheat value. The mech has 6 armor and 3 structure with specials of Case 2, Jump Weak 1, and Rear 1-1-0, giving it some protection if someone decides to get into the tasty back parts. Dexter Nix is our next pilot. According to Sarna, he is a corporal and he pilots a Griffin. For this one, I took the controversial step of taking the GRF-3RG, a non-jumping version of the machine. Dexter is also a skill 3 pilot, and his Griffin is a battle mech, size 2, TMM 2, with a movement of 10, and is a skirmisher. It does 4 at short, 3 at medium, and has no long or overheat capabilities. I took it more for the armor and structure though, with 5 of each, and a special of Case, making it something that is a bit more durable than most of its medium inner sphere peers in the Ill-Clan era. The last member of Fox Patrol is Rhiannon Ramirez, the firebrand behind the controls of her Marauder. In this case, I have chosen to go with the classic MAD-2R Royal Marauder. As I am not going to find one that goes fast enough for a TMM of 2, I may as well go for one that is harder to attrit than most from this era. Rhiannon is a skill 3. Rhiannon's 2R Marauder is a battle mech, size 3, TMM of 1 with a movement of 8. It is a sniper and does 4 damage at short and medium with 3 at long, and once again, no overheat value. Her mech has 7 armor and 6 structure with a special of Case for 48 points. We then get to the Unicorn Company contingent of the Force, and this will consist of 2 mechs, and I think sort of colors the Force as something not truly meant to win, but to have some fun and make my opponents rethink their definition of a scout mech. The first of these is 2nd Lieutenant Marceline, a former member of Clan Ghostbear who was captured in a raid. Her mech is the Hunchback C, and she is a skill 3 pilot. The Hunchback C is a battle mech, size 2, TMM 2, with a movement of 12 inches and is a skirmisher. The mech does 6 damage at both short and medium ranges with no long or overheat values. The mech has 5 armor and 3 structure with the special of Case, and the reason I am going with the Hunchback C here is that it is roughly the same as bringing a Nova, except you aren't paying for the jumping ability, which I have found I don't use that often when playing in competitive games. The other Unicorn Company mech, named Itty by its pilot, is a Charger C, piloted by 1st Lieutenant Morgana Patton, who captured the mech from Marceline during the raid on the Ghost Bears and decided that she definitely needed it for herself. Yes, this one is a bit of a self-insert, but it also fits the theme of having a character in the Fox Patrol story having the unfortunate last name of Warhammer. Morgana is once again a skill 3 pilot, and her charger is a BattleTech size 4, TMM of 3 with a movement of 16 and is a scout. It can do 6 damage at short and medium ranges with no long or overheat ability. The Charger C has 10 armor and 4 structure, putting it roughly on par with the Mad Cat for overall health, and has specials of Angel ECM, Bloodhound, Case, Crit Resistant, and Recon. This thing comes in at 100 points, making it over a quarter of my list in points. So why this selection of mechs? Well, first of all, I wanted to have a unit that was thematic, at least in the case of Fox Patrol, and the 2 Unicorn Company mechs are there for some fun, and some weirdness and unexpected hijinks from the list. Overall though, I do feel the list is solid. It'll cause a lot of chaos, and will give players a look at something different in the competitive Alpha Strike community. Finally, to steal a phrase from a speech given by Patton on June 5th, and bring it into some context related to this list, and my repeated use of Unicorn Company in my tournament forces. There are certain people in the fandom who thrive on hating people like me. Whenever they see me, my army, and know that this hobby is just a little bit more diverse in spite of their efforts, I want them to rise up in their piss-soaked trousers and howl, "Fuck, it's the goddamn Unicorn Company and that bitch Patton again." Happy hunting, everyone. I want to thank my patrons and sponsors, Blind Zen Archer, Boy in a Box, NB Kaiju, Fortress Miniatures and Games, Gus Arkila, Haley Saint, Jamie, Nathan, Richard Johnson, Sarah, Scott, Stephen,
Lead the way, sir. It's a pleasure to fight with you at last.
Omega lead, ejecting. Roger, Control. Omega, this is Control. We shall lift off of the next dropship. Orders?
This is Forward 3. The gantries are